We all depend on one another. We all appreciate one another. And we're going to take each other to the top because my success is your success. Right? So this is the Overcomers Conference, right? Right? So we overcomers. Lord knows our culture has overcome. We continue to overcome, right? So my name is DeWaun E. Robinson, and I do have a social enterprise here in the city of Flint, Artistic Vision Enterprise, which we do a number of youth programs, and we have programs inside the schools. Thank you, brother. So our thing is really kind of showcasing visual arts, photography, right, graphic designs, all the things that, you know, that brings a creation to life. And so we work with a lot of the youth because that's where they are. They know about these phones, they know these videos, these cameras, they know better than what we can, right? So they do much more than what I was doing back then. But our thing is always encouraging them, but being a platform. But the work that's important to me is what she said when we talk about no justice, no peace, right? So I was suspending all type of activity I got going on for the betterment of us, right? And that's how dedicated that we have to be. It has to be like that. So if I see an injustice taking place to my people, my brother in the streets, and one of these young people are in the streets being disrespected by the police, then I think we all have to step out there and be about that, right?
Yes, sir.
We have to make sure that we protect them. Because no matter what, they are our future. If it's injustice going on at the home, right? If it's domestic situation taking place, right? We get involved because listen, a family is important. We need you to be successful. We need a father, a mother to take care of them children, right? We need everybody to work along hand in hand, right? So we do those things. They don't talk about a lot of that, but we do a lot of that, right? And then of course with this wave of violence in our community, right? This is one thing I have to say. So I want to talk to y'all young brothers right now. It's good to see y'all in here activated doing something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Right? Y'all on the path to success. I keep my children, my nephews, nieces, everybody involved. We keep them engaged in something. They don't have idle time. Because the idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yes, sir.
Right? So we always want to make sure that they busy. They're not just wasting time, right? So that's our job to be able to provide those opportunities. It's our job to go seek the resources to make sure that they have opportunity to be able to actualize themselves in this life, right? So it's a thing of continuation. It's continuity for me. So I'm going to just tell you about, and just give you a little background about myself. So born here in Flint. I lived in Detroit half my life. I used to do music. So I was an artist coming up here in the city of Flint. Worked with MC Breed, a number of artists here in the city, and then I moved to Detroit. And I was there for a while. And then upon coming back in 2013, I came back when the Flint water crisis was taking place, right? So I didn't appreciate the circumstances of the city of Flint. So I got involved. I got engaged as a young man, as a young brother in the city of Flint. Through all the challenges, it's about getting involved. It's not how you come up. It's not where you start. How you finish.
Come on here.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
I know you're right. I know you're right.
Because unfortunately, you know, it's the same similar story as many other young brothers and sisters in the city of Flint. I grew up. I had a loving mother. I really appreciate her because she was the main source of what we had. Right? My father was out. He was busy. I think he had some things going on. He had to get his life together. But you know what? Later on in life, we was able to reconnect. I think, you know, for a long time it affected me. We had these conversations, right? But he knows and I know there's always respect because without them, there was no me, right? So we try to make things better from here on out. My thing is, you know, I started out City of Flint. I was just like, you know, everybody else we see around, you know, trying to find a way. I think we look and try to make our own way where there's no way. Just like look at our circumstances today. You know, we don't have a real public school education system here in the city of Flint where all our students are going to because we're shipping them out in different counties. And they're going to charter schools. Like, they don't have that pride of being a Flint Central Indian, right? Or a Northern Viking, right? Or Northwestern, right? Southwestern Knight, right? They don't have that pride, right? And I think that was something that we hung on to. My class, I graduated in 2004, 2005, it was gone. So all the history that we had, the champions, the banners, you know, all the things that we remember, the lock-ins, all those things went goodbye. So when you look at today, they don't have a real good public education system. There's no employment. There's no opportunities for them to go get a job and then go ahead and make something of themselves. Not only get a job, but they want to be career-minded. These young people got other things they want to do. They just don't want to be at the factory. They don't want to be at the dollar store. They want to do other things, and I respect that, right? And they're willing to go out and make it on their own. They're willing to make something out of nothing. So the thing is, they have a very difficult time now. We had a difficult time, but the times are even worse. So coming up in the city of Flint, I always try to make sure I had some good people around me. Like I said, my mother, my grandmother in Mississippi, my grandmother here. They always prayed for me. They always made sure they called and checked in. Even when I was on a bunch of nonsense, they was always there. They would tell me they love me, they appreciate me, and they know I could do better. See, those are the things that we don't realize when we're going through these times or these situations. We don't realize how many people care for us or who really has our back. But we do have good people in our lives and we appreciate them. We may not hear that message at the time, and that may be a situation across the board, but I tell you, one day it's going to come back. It's going to come in full effect. And people are going to remember those things that you said. You remember what Big Mama said when you were little, right? You remember what your auntie and your uncle who loved, who came in and told you some things that you needed to hear at the time. You didn't pay attention or take heed to it at the time, but it was there. So, real quick, I remember back when I was first coming back to, well, this is before I left Flint, 17 years old, right? I was in the streets, I was hustling, I was doing music, I was trying to make a way. So I had this, and I'm just gonna I'm a candid individual, right? So bear with me. So I was on Stevenson, I had a little spot on Stevenson, right? My grandma called me. It had to be the weirdest moment, right? And I'm in there doing some stuff that she wouldn't approve of. But then I'm like, you know what? She called me to miss this, and I'm like, I'm trying to think about trying to talk to her while I'm still doing what I'm doing, right? And the whole time she's giving me all these different verses, and she telling me how much she loved me. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying, Granny, this ain't the time right now, but I really appreciate it, right? But she was telling me some stuff, and I didn't realize how important it was at the time. So, fast forward, a couple years later, you know, I was telling her after the fact that, hey, listen, Granny, remember that time when you had called me, and you were telling me all that stuff about what I needed to do and what she would like to for me in life, right? This is the time that I really needed to hear that. And I wasn't listening at the time, but it didn't fall on deaf ears. Because those same messages that she told me when I was in there at 17 is reflected when I was sitting in OCJ, which is Oakland Jail, right? Oakland County Jail. I was facing a 7-15 charge. Didn't know how I was gonna get out of this. It looked very bleak for me. It looked like just a total bad situation. I just remember at that time, I know the devil always try to come in and mess up the situation. Come on, we ain't gonna let it happen this time. Y'all got me right, brother? You got me right over there? Okay, so it came back in time when I was at OCJ, and I was sitting there and I was facing those charges, and I started remembering what my grandma was telling me. All the messages that she was trying to get to me when I was out here, when I thought I knew it all, right? And so at that time I was thinking, I was just kind of meditating, and this is the time when I was saying this made me who I was today, because at that very moment in time I made a covenant with the Most High and said, you know what, if I get up this situation, you get me out of this one, I promise on everything I'm gonna make it right, right? And it was because those times that I was hearing that voice from my grandma. She knew, and she was telling me something that I probably need to hear in life, and I knew that I needed to hear it. But sometimes we don't try to hear those things because we be trying to be in our own way. We want to do it the way that we want to do it. We want to make it happen the way that we see fit. And sometimes that's just not it. So when I was sitting there, I was asking for forgiveness. All the times that, you know, I messed up and didn't do things right. I sat there and thought about the times when my mother and my grandmothers was praying for me, right? Those things made a difference. Because at that time, when you have nothing to do but think, and just sit there and wait, and read, you're not on any substance or anything like that, it becomes real. And so at that time is when it came a real time for me. When I said I made a covenant with the Most High, I told him that, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try my best to give and follow purpose in life. And not just be about what I want to do, whether that's rapping, whether that's selling drugs, or that's trying to do stuff that I thought that it was cool, right? I want y'all to hear this, right? what I thought was cool, but it wasn't. And so I tell you, just that the following week after that time when I had that situation, the OCJ, I was released, right? Didn't even know I had it. But I did have some real people that was praying for me, and I did have some real attorneys that was working on my behalf, right? And so from a situation, a week later to be out that situation, to be able to come home, I said, you know what? At that time, I had 2 small children. I always been in my children's life because, you know, I didn't, like I was telling you, I didn't have my father. So it taught me how to be a father. Right? It taught me indirectly, hey, listen, you need to be there. You don't know how to do it, you don't know how to be a father, but you're going to learn along the way, right? So then after that, I came out the situation, and I said the first thing that I want to do, I want to get back with my kids, right? And remind you, I was out there by myself, I was rapping, I was doing these different things, so I was on tour, I was doing a bunch of other things, but the whole time I always missed things that I created, right? So upon coming back to Flint, that was my first thing. Let me make sure I got back with my children. I remember how I wrote down the whole list because I was sitting there for 2 years fighting these cases. So I sat down, I wrote a bunch of things out, I wrote a bunch of goals. First time in life, wrote these things out. And I still got these goals to this day in the box. But I could see they were just small things. Get my driver's license back. Pay my child support. Right? Try to get the basic schedule with my children. Right? Take care of all these situations with probation and all this stuff to get off these papers. Right? It was just stuff that you want to get off to free yourself. Right? So you can really actualize yourself in life. And I could see myself slowly checking those things off. One by one. Like seeing them check off. So getting my driver's license, getting my children back, and I was able to go ahead and have a relationship with them. But then, you know, we was able to blossom and grow. We was able to do things that we can see now today that we can laugh back on and we can reflect. So what I say is always about overcoming. It's always about being serious about overcoming. You can't have one foot in, one foot out, right? That's like being in a relationship. You one way in, you one way out. You want to be with her, but then you're still hanging out, right? A lot of times we always do that. But the thing is, you have to be two feet in, 10 toes down, and really serious about overcoming. And for us as a culture, as a body of people, as a group, we got to be serious about overcoming and being strong about a nation which we come from. You know how strong and powerful our nation was coming from? When I was able to realize and be prideful of who I am, I love myself, love my people. I don't want to take nothing from my people. I always want to build with my people. And so me visiting Africa changed my life. So I wasn't able to see that in the past life. I had to overcome to be able to look at new things. And then from that point, it opened up a whole different thing. And so it's more than Black Lives. It's more than that. It's like, hey, I represent for something, a dynasty, right? We not savages out in the streets. We're not just out here just at the bottom of the totem pole. No, we some real strong people. And when we realize that, when we know that, then we're going to really see a difference. So I really wanted to say that to all. I really always want to make sure that we understand that we are overcomers. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When I was in Egypt, the Arabic people came to me and told me, like, listen, man, listen, you got the aura of a king. You know what you're talking about. But I'm in the temples of King Ramesses, right? He's like, man, you got the aura of a king. He said, you know what? When the black men wake up, the game is over. This coming from an Arabic man. Right? So those are the things that should be telling you that, man, people are waiting. They're waiting on us. We talk about the children of Israel, talking about walking in the wilderness 40 years. That's us, right? We be doing this stuff. We know that we are powerful people, but we just haven't all woke up yet and overcame. So I'm just telling you today, now is the time. Now is the time for us to overcome, be everything that we are supposed to be, and make sure that we leave a legacy that they all are proud of, the world is. So I thank y'all just even really just taking time to hear the story, but I still want to also introduce somebody else who's an overcomer real quick. Little cousin. So I got a little cousin, right? Come on here real quick.